every day, and you guys just keep on saying, well, we'll look into it. We'll look into it. You're gonna give me 2 more minutes.
Well, one at the moment, but. Okay, anything else?
No, you guys are bad.
Move on to our presenters. First is Renee. Tim, are you gonna be a part of this as well for the Spielman server? Maybe have Renee and then Tim can fill in the gaps.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So just a kind of little background here. Spillman is our public safety software that all of us use in Clinton County, police, fire, EMS, dispatch. And ever since we consolidated dispatch, the server's been housed in the equipment room at the sheriff's office in dispatch. Every so many years, we have to purchase a new server. Several of us have been meeting over the last year or so knowing we needed to look forward to purchasing a new server. And most recently, or over the summer, I'm sorry, I had asked Spillman, or Motorola is actually who purchased Spillman. I had asked Motorola for a quote, and I also asked Tim for a quote. We are also looking at doing 2 servers. We have the one server, and then we have a backup. We do not have a backup. So if anything would happen to our current server, we would be down for who knows how long until we could get that back up and going. So moving forward, last week, we had a meeting at the police department. It was myself, President Dunn, President Brewer from the commissioners. We met with, the mayor came, 2 city council members came. We had Chief Shoemaker. I'm one of the Spillman administrators. We also had 2 other Spillman administrators there who help administer on the server. So we met, we went over the quotes, and we decided to ask for updated ones because these were over 6 months old. So just to go back a little bit, in July, Motorola sent our first quote to us, and that amount was $260,754. We talked to Tim because Tim administers like the hardware and everything and takes care of that for us. So we thought Tim could probably do much better than that. And so back in July, he was able to give us a quote of $184,644. But obviously, as we all know, the costs increase as time passes. And so I did contact Motorola last week, and they were able to give me a revised quote. Tim also worked on a revised quote. The Motorola quote on January 2nd came in at $326,937.34. Tim was able to provide a new quote as well, and that total was $226,931.20. And this does include having the second server. We've not completely decided where the second server would be housed. It's going to be away from the sheriff's office. So it would probably be either at Frankfort Police or maybe at the City Light and Power at the data center. We haven't decided yet. Those are things that Tim is more, Tim can handle those things. We also discussed the funding, which of course is not my portion of that, but the county and the city were able to discuss funding of this as well. And it was decided there that the city and county would split it 50-50, pending everybody's approval, from the commissioners to the county council to the city and the board of council and the board of works. So today I'm here before you to approve the quote that Tim from ACCS provided, which was the $226,931.20. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask, or obviously Tim, if Tim wants to add anything as well.
So how old is the current server?
6 going on 7 years.
And what's the life expectancy usually?
7.
7. What happens if it went down?
We would be it would be a nightmare, quite honestly. We would be, for lack of better terms, dead in the water. I mean, dispatch would be back to pen and paper, writing everything, all of our records. So a little history, Frankfort Police, they joined Spillman, they came online in July of 1993. The Sheriff's Office came online with Spillman in March of 2006. And then just prior to our consolidation, Fire and EMS came on in 2010 going into 2011. These are all of the records for dispatch, all of the records for law enforcement, all of our, like the law enforcement, the jail records, evidence, property, all of those things, all police reports. Fire and EMS do not utilize it for their reporting purposes, but they use it when we dispatch them on a call so that they can read our CAD notes, they can look at the address and gather information. So they don't use it for reporting purposes, but everybody utilizes it, from the marshals to all of our volunteer fire, EMS, everybody, public safety across Clinton County.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from you guys? No. Okay, so in conjunction with that, we have the two quotes, but we have an interlocal between ourselves and the city, and it has a number of not to exceed $230,000 for the project, which would be split in half. So that should cover the cost of ACCS's quote, as well as give a little bit of cushion in case something comes up with it that needs an additional expense associated with the upgrade. So I guess if there's no questions, I would entertain a motion to first accept ACCS's quote, as it is the lower of the two, by $100,000, and then motion to approve the interlocal between the county and city so they can move forward with this. Because I think from the conversation, even if we do all this today, we're months
Yes.
away from
Yes.
the actual hardware showing up, and then there's a time period of installation and migration. So, I mean,
Yes.
you're really looking at roughly 6 months down
Yes.
the road.
I would like to add on the migration, so we will still, and Tim has included that cost in his quote, but we will have a migration cost with Spillman. So part of that quote, and that is to migrate everything from our old server to the new, and in that's roughly $10,000. I did find out, so in Motorola's quote, they had included an approximate $5,000 for GIS to be migrated over. I contacted Crossroads, who we utilize for all of our CAD mapping, and we will not have to pay that. That is part of just what they will do for us, because I already pay them maintenance. So we will not have that cost.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I feel much better with ACCS than.
Absolutely. Yes.
Than the others.
Yes.
And, you know, they've been a good partner, or a good help all along in our community even.
Yes.
So, I'll make that motion that we, go ahead and go with the dollar amount that we were speaking of the 226 less our portion. And then I'll make the motion that, we sign the interlocal agreement with the city as presented, and the president signed for our behalf.
Has all three of us on here.
Okay.
So,
I'll second both motions.
okay, so motion carries 3-0. We'll approve the ACCS quote, which does include the Spillman migration in that 226, and then we'll sign the interlocal and get that sent over to the city to move forward with that, to split that cost. So, great.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Guys, thank you.
Thank you
Yes,
very
thank you.
much.
Next up is Liz Stitzel with area plan update.
Good morning.
Good
I'm
morning.
short and sweet this morning. I don't have anything as far as unsafe structures or obviously mowing to discuss this morning. I wasn't here for all of Mr. Vostry's comments, so I'm not sure if there were any questions related to that, but I did take a complaint right before the holidays about some trees that their root balls were above the surface of the ground and they had turned sideways. I did immediately reach out to the landscaping company that holds us under warranty, as well as ACS, who not ACS, AES, Indianapolis Power and Light. They sent people out there that same week, toward the end of the week, or maybe the beginning of the next week. But I received an email noting they have taken care of bracing and uprighting the trees and setting those. They also said they're looking into a sound complaint, but I don't have, that was just before the holidays. And to be honest, these first couple days of this week, I haven't made it back around to that, around other priorities. So I will double check back around, but I did respond to that, so.
I think he brought up two other points to probably look into, just the enforcement of shrubs and trees that have died or are dying, as well as the other sound barriers that maybe have blown off. So if your office could look into those to get those communicated to AES to fix those would be one. And then secondly, at least throwing the idea out there of creating multiple layers of trees behind his home to help an additional sound barrier. So I think there's one layer from what I understood. He would like 3 layers of trees.
Okay. I guess on those two sides, yes, I can definitely look into the sound barrier. I know Deputy Yoder, who's one of the other affecteds, typically reaches out to me immediately if there's any issue with it. I haven't heard anything from him, but I'll drive all 3 of those sites. The trees, I will follow up on, but it's going to be very difficult to determine what's, because they're all under warranty still, but what's alive and what's not until spring hits and they start to
Yeah.
bud. Because a deciduous tree and even some evergreens can discolor due to high water, but then end up, as things recede, being okay. I can certainly send a preemptive email to the landscaping company reminding them that come spring, we expect anything that's died to be replaced though. And
Yeah,
then,
I wouldn't expect action to be taken during the winter, right? Like they're
Okay.
dormancy and such, but I think it should be a priority at the first of spring to
For
be,
sure.
looking at the replacement of stuff that hasn't made it through winter.
yeah, we can do that. I will convey the request for extra layers of trees, but I don't have anything that I can use as enforcement on that because it wasn't a requirement in the development plans. But of course, I can email and convey that request and see if there's, a willingness. I guess I would ask if maybe the commissioners can also reach out to their contacts and do the same thing and see if maybe the company has so far been reasonably willing to try to, they're slow, but they have, taken steps to try to do things. Perhaps if we're all tag teaming that, they'll be willing to put in some more.
Okay.
Well, that was my question, who made the determination that 1 layer of trees would mitigate the noise?
So actually when this went through, there was not a noise consideration discussed. The buffer yard required visual screening once the trees grow up, and that was put in. They're in the process of, they're only 1 year in, at this point, some of them not even. So obviously they're not tall enough yet to function fully as a visual screen. At the time that this went through, this is actually one of the changes that we plan to bring to you guys from area plan to the solar ordinance as a requirement that inverters have to be 5 or 6 rows inside if there's any future developments. But at the time it went through, people kind of said, they don't have a volume, you don't hear them. I would disagree with that, having stood out by them. And it actually is an industry change that's occurred. I know Duke Energy and some of the others have been pushing on their internal documents now no longer to put those on the outside, but we're planning to bring an ordinance change on it as well. But sound, we don't have any sound regulation in the county under the commissioner's ordinances. That's not something that typically goes under zoning. I think there's some general, if somebody's holding a party and the music can be heard miles away, the sheriff can go out and shut that down, but I'm not sure how they determine what threshold, or if it's decibels, or if it's just, common sense if you're standing a mile down the road and you can hear the music. I know those kinds of things I've heard of people being cited under when there's large parties, but there's nothing that says, you have to be 10 decibels or 15 decibels or, whatever that level is to be able to cite back to.
Well, he did say that there was, when the corn was up, he couldn't hear it very well.
That makes
So-
sense, because it'd be more vegetative matter.
Right, so.
Yep.
I mean, it seemed like this would be not easy, but this would be a legitimate solution.
Yeah, I did pass on to the company that there were noise issues occurring from a second one when I sent that email here over the holidays and remind them of that.
Regretfully, he wasn't quite factual. We've met with him multiple times. Our first several meetings, they ended up putting sound barriers up supposedly on both of them, which is really sort of a plastic tarp that they put up.
I think only the I'm so sorry. I think actually it's only the closer one that was discussed and actually got the sound barrier on it, and then the one by Mr. Yoder's house, and there's one over by I think the Wolves that also got one. So those three got the sound barriers placed on them. This
Yes.
additional one that's further away, that now that the corn is out, is creating the issue. I don't believe
It
that
didn't
that
get
has
covered.
barriers on it.
Yeah, but the one directly behind his house did, and the one between the deputies got
Correct.
taken care of, and the other gentleman did. So we put sound barriers up first. They didn't work, in my opinion. You know, it's just a piece of plastic hanging up 10 foot tall, and that didn't direct the sound somewhere. Then we met again with them, and behind Todd's house, they agreed. In fact, we suggested a cement block up against it, and they come up with the idea that they would put some more trees up. And so when they said some more trees, they put one more row of trees that are 10 foot tall, but yet, you know, have very little growth on them at this point in time. It will take years for them to grow up in order to become a sound barrier, in my opinion. So,
Have enough vegetation to absorb.
yeah, and we've had multiple phone calls with them, and like he said, sadly to say, supervision changes so much there that you.
Yeah, there's a whole different group of people now that I'm emailing over the
Every
holidays.
time
None
it
of them are
changes,
people
so
I've
it's
talked to
not-
before.
It's not one group that you talk to. Garrett was a guy that we were sort of getting some headway with, and he's no longer there.
Yeah, and I didn't know, I saw his email bounced back, and then the company that has the trees under warranty reached back
Yeah.
out to me.
So
But-
it has been addressed multiple times, and, you know, I'm not sure what the end solution is, Mr. President.
I am continuing to work on it. I'm not at all indicating that, I'll follow up on everything. I will send them. I just want to make sure I'm clear that I can't fine them for not having 2 more rows of trees because it wasn't in their requirements for that house. So it's kind of
And
hopefully they'll be a good neighbor ultimately and we can get this continued to be sorted.
who was responsible for placing those units where they were? Who chose the opportunity for us to put, or who chose those locations?
That would be I think Invenergy as the developer chose them, and they had stated at the time that they did not generate sound, which I would vehemently disagree with.
Exactly.
So
So it wasn't your choice?
it was not my choice, nope, and nor was it any of the commissioners at the time's choice. And honestly, not out of line with what we were seeing other places. And the ones within the area that are not close to a home have not generated any issue. The ones that are out in the arrays, you don't hear. But we do have these few of them that are close to the edge that are creating valid problems. And I have expressed that pretty clearly. And like you said, we have gotten some effort, but I also don't feel like we have a full solution, particularly on Mr. Vostry's. Mr. Yoder, at least his last communication with me, it seemed like he was okay with where he was at, but he only has one of them, and he has some vegetation on his own property as well, so I think maybe it's a little bit different. Sound is a little different in each area, and I haven't heard anything further from the third one either in terms of that solution not working, but obviously, and I would agree with Mr. Vostry, there continue to be struggles there.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Liz? No. All right, thank you.
No problem, I'll follow up on that.
Okay.
Thank you. And if there's anything else, like between, just reach out to me in my office.
All right, thanks. Next up is Rick Campbell with Highway Update. Good morning, Rick.
Morning.
I have a change order for Bridge 60, which is on 0, just outside of Kilmore.
Okay. What was so just because of,
They found more rust, and you have to cut some more parts out.
okay. So this is the restoration of the historical trusses.
Yes,
It's $140,024.14 increase to the change order. So the new contract is $821,682.64. Funding's coming, where's the additional funding coming from?
I'm gonna take it out of restricted,
Okay. And from cash balance from restricted?
pardon me?
From your cash balance in restricted?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Rick?
None.
No.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept the change order for Bridge 60.
Move to approve the change order.
And second.
All right, motion carries 3-0 on that.
That's all I've got.
That's all you got? Okay, any questions for Rick this morning?
So you had to work New Year's Day?
Yes,
Okay.
just for a little bit. We didn't know what was gonna have, ice or snow, and, but everybody plowed a little bit of snow. It was more snow than I thought, so it was hit and miss, but we got it taken care of. Everybody did a good job.
Good, appreciate
you.
that, Rick.
Thank them once again.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Next item is under old business. It is the WIS salary survey. I believe Counselor Dunn's here to maybe discuss some of it.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. As you know, we in 2024 engaged Wagner, Irwin and Shield to be a vendor for the council, a consultant for the council to come up with a salary survey that we used as a part of our implementation of the new job classification system. That was a complete overhaul of how we had determined compensation for county employees. That system was implemented in 2024 for the 2025 budget year. And then during 2025, we made some tweaks and adjustments to those positions that maybe didn't quite fit perfectly into a slot. And so for 2026, the council would like, and we voted to move forward at our December meeting, to move forward with a new salary survey, an update to the salary survey. This would be a much smaller scale than what we did in 2024, because that was done in conjunction with a complete overhaul of the classification of employees. This would be just comparing, what has happened in the last 2 years to what adjustments we've done, where we compare to the market, both in the public sector and to some degree into the private sector, so that we can ensure that our employees continue to be fairly compensated. So the council voted to move forward with that engagement, and the cost will be done based on an hourly cost of what it would take to do the project, but the estimated range from the vendor is $8,000 to $10,000. And so we have plenty of money in our professional services budget to cover that. And we even have a line in the budget for human resources consulting with WIS. And so we just would like to present that to the commissioners for approval to sign that contract.
I have a couple questions, don't mind. So when I say we, but I guess I should say council went down that path 2 years ago, right? I think it was
Correct.
23. What the idea was to kind of create a system that, where in the past, it was more of discretionary in terms of opinion of how adjustments were made, and get to a system that was a little more black and white, right?
That's correct.
But yet, at the same time, there's the understanding that although everyone operates under the umbrella of county government, it's really a bunch of like small villages in the big village. Like everybody, there's, different departments operate
Neighborhoods.
different ways, right? So I guess the only thing that I have a concern with, or why I guess I probably would not support this, is not from WIS, because I think they do really good work. But last year, going into 26 for the budget, we had done the salary survey in 23, implemented it for 24, but then in 25 we have people that get 2% raises up to 28% raises, right? And so there was this discretion that was then applied to it to go above and beyond the, I think it was, the terminology was like there was the low, medium, and high range, right?
Correct.
And certain positions would fit into the medium, certain would go to the high, and I think everyone was over, or maybe midpoint. I think midpoint was the actual terminology. So I guess I'm a little confused why we need this if we're just gonna use discretion like we used the last year and not be consistent across the board.
So good questions, and I guess I would answer that by saying, and going back to point out that this was the installation of a completely new system. This was not, we have done salary surveys in the past, but they've been very simplistic of looking at a small group of counties and that was it. It was a guidepost, more or less. I think what caused that confusion, two things. One, not every position fit squarely into a category, and we struggled a little bit on how to handle that, I think is fair to say. And two, there was a real learning curve for the council on how to handle this new system, up to and including some professional development, Jordan, that you and I were in together here not long ago, where we had some extra training from WIS that went through the scoring factors and all that was very educational for me as we continue to, and other council members that were present, as we continue to learn how to implement this system. So I guess I say that the first year of the system was our best effort to implement it. Year two was our best effort to adjust it, to try to account for some of these things that maybe didn't fit quite perfectly into a category, or that we felt like were slightly unique and required some adjustment. I think what we're hoping to do with this salary survey then is to true up. You know, let's see that after the implementation and the adjustments, where do we fall now with going back and looking at that comparison? And I guess I don't envision that you'll see that, what you saw last year, happen much anymore, because that was, I think, part of that growing pains of switching over to this new system and process.
I'll make this suggestion, and it's at a high level, right? So the details of it would have to be worked out. But I think one of the hardest things you have sitting at this table as a counselor is during budget time, when department heads come in and say, you know, we need this raise and so needs this raise, and we got to get this person up to this point. Because no fault of anybody that is on the council, it's just the nature of the board. You're not there every day.
Right.
And you don't see what's happening. And so to me, a system that would be more advantageous would be to create some type of performance-based system. And what I mean by that is, you know, the council determines, hey, we're given X amount % each year in raises. And then you give the department head the discretion to determine how they want to utilize that, from the standpoint of, okay, employee A gets 5%, employee B, they didn't, because they're the ones overseeing their department each year, each day.
Right.
And they know who's performing and who's not, and it takes a lot of the onus off council, because how do you sit up here and combat when a department head says so-and-so needs this?
It's very
needs
difficult, yeah.
It's impossible, because you're not overseeing it on a daily basis.
Well, I think that's a very worthwhile, worthy idea. It was something that got brought up at the initial stages of in other words, it was considered early on when we talked about implementing the system. It was decided to be, at the time, too much at the beginning of this complete overhaul and how we classified and categorized employees. But I do think that that's a worthy goal of something that we could grow into. I think it would involve some professional development training for department heads to make sure that everybody was doing their performance grading on a similar standard. There would need to be some sort of objective scoring mechanism, so that it couldn't just be, you know, I like this person more than this person. So, you know, there would have to be a way to verify that the performance reviews were accurate, which may involve commissioner participation to some degree. So there's a lot to that, and I guess it felt to me like an advanced stage of the job classification system that I think we're much closer to being able to implement now than we were 2 years ago, but certainly wouldn't discount that suggestion.
I think that's the way it has to head, because as you mentioned, and I've seen some of this internally behind the scenes, is like, as much as we want it to be black and white, it's really hard for it to be black and white across the board. And so then that makes people feel like they're being, you know, not valued as much as others, because they see, you know, what I mentioned, 2% versus 28%. Like, well, why did mine only move up 2 and so-and-so got 28%? But it also makes department heads much more accountable, because if I oversee my department and I decide to give everybody a flat 2%, but there's someone that's not carrying their weight, and you work in there, now you're gonna be holding the department head more accountable, like, hey, why is she getting this, or why is he getting that, and I'm getting the same, but yet I'm doing X amount more work. where at the council level, you can't justify or gauge that because you're not involved on a daily basis.
Well, we could certainly include a request for what a program like that might look like as a part of this salary survey work, because it would be related to that, related to ways that raises and/or bonuses could be structured around performance reviews and those kinds of things. So we could get some recommendations on what a program like that might look like. I don't think anybody on the council has the expertise to implement something like that on our own now, so we would need.
Oh, I think you do.
Well, I don't know. The key thing would be that it would have to be transparent, it would have to be objective, it would have to be something that could be easily defensible by the department head to not just the council, but to their peers, so that everybody felt like they were all being treated fairly and not that one department had more time of it than another. So one thing I think we can be sure of is that as much sense as it might make to us today, there would be unintended consequences or there would be unintended results. And we just really need to take the time to try to think those through ahead of time so that they're considered and mitigated to any extent possible.
I do think you do actually have someone on council that is very familiar with it, and that's Todd Corey, because Frankfurt Municipal Utilities went to this system. And so he's as knowledgeable on how they utilize theirs, and they went to a straight performance-based, and it has objective. So, not saying there couldn't be some outside consultation that's needed, but ultimately, I do think there is the expertise there to make it work. So,
Well, good feedback, and we'll certainly take it back to the council.
any other comments or questions?
I feel a little uncomfortable with doing what we're suggesting here, though. As we get bigger, it's difficult to give it to the department heads and try to stay uniform with the group itself. It is so easy to, well, I become a friend of so-and-so, and so that department goes out of whack and gives somebody a 5, and this person over here gets 1 or 2. And then you're gonna have a lot of animosity amongst your employees after a while because they see and sense the favoritism that goes on and so forth. I think as we get bigger that we need to try to keep it uniform as much as we can and realize you're always gonna have exceptions. And those exceptions come to your leaders, not necessarily your department heads that are there. The department head should have input, but at the same time, I think you need to keep it uniform so that there's some equal not favoritism going on and so forth. And I've seen it in the bigger operations, and quite honestly, the work of a truck driver should be the same as the work of another truck driver. So you can't give one guy a little more money because he's a truck driver just as much as others. However, there is obviously a time where he comes to work all the time, the other guy doesn't. And so, there's disparity that goes on, but those are the exceptions, and I think you need to keep it together. So I believe that, quite honestly, we need to refine a little bit of the previous survey and pick out some of those things and address them, Alan, as you were thinking about. And therefore, I hate to see us go back to this department does it one way, this department does it another, and there's no conformity to the whole thing.
Well, again, good feedback, and I think to clarify, what Jordan suggested was that, the council would have a say over setting a cap of what that raise amount could be, and then it was, each department got a pot that in theory would be an equal percentage to the other departments, and then it would be the subdivision of that, I think, is what you suggested.
Yeah, so, easy example, say council decided we're gonna do 5% raises. And they take whatever auditor's budget is for salaries, 5% of that, and they give them that amount of money. And then it's up to Britt to determine how she's gonna distribute it. She's either gonna give all of her employees 5%, or she's gonna say, hey, so-and-so's does an exceptional job, she gets 7. We need so-and-so to do a better job, she's only gonna get 3%. And it's their onus to determine, because you said leaders, but all of our department heads should be leaders if they're in the right position. And they're leading that department on a daily basis. We don't know exactly what's going on. We don't know who is performing and who's not performing at levels that they should be.
What we do have in place as a part of that reorganization over the last couple of years is that we created a job classification committee Two of those members are here today.
Three?
Three, yeah, well.
Yeah, two council ones, yeah.
Council members along with, so Councilwomen King and Price are on that committee along with Todd Corey, who Jordan just mentioned. So we have, a mechanism in place to do this examination and review and maybe kick some ideas around. So you may be assigned a task later.
So I guess if, going back to the survey, because I'm not trying to derail this into a different topic of deeper discussion, but if we will include looking into that, then I will support it, but if the motion is to go as this, then that may be a different.
I would have no objection to that, and I think it makes sense to do as a next phase of review of our process.
In some evaluations years ago, wasn't this talked about then? I mean, this is not the first time we've heard of performance-based.
My recollection, Kevin, was that when it was talked about before, at least during my time, it was more of it was presented more of as a commissioner review, performance review, rather than at a department head level. I think that had a lot of pushback, and it was an idea that never went.
Well, I don't think that would be good. I think I mean, I think it's worth looking at for sure and studying. So, yeah, I would support that, but, just to go right into it, I think we need to look at it some more. I don't know.
I'll vote for that then, if that's a motion somewhere along the
So,
line.
so your motion is to approve the consulting service agreement with WIS for the salary survey with the addition of looking into a performance style, or creating a recommendation
Yeah.
on a performance style.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
We can bring that up at our meeting tomorrow, if we would need to amend our previous vote, and approve just the original proposal, we could do that.
Okay. So I have motion from Kevin,
Second.
from Bert. I'll make that 3-0 to do that. Okay, thank you.
Commissioners.
Yep. All right, we'll move on to new business. The first item we have already taken care of, that was the interlocal. Now is the county attorney agreement with Mr. Tom Little for his services for 2026. The agreement stayed the same. The only change was now on an annual basis, based on the raises that the council give to the commissioner's office. We also include that in the county attorney's pay. So his pay did go up that percentage as well. So entertain a motion to have Tom stay on for another year.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Motion carries 3-0. Good, because you're here today, Tom, so. Next up is the Maximus Maximus agreement, I believe, annual agreement, isn't it, Britt? And it's for your office, is that my understanding? For the software.
It's actually for, the prosecutor and the clerk, the 66%, for them to go over and do all of that. So they get all the records from my office.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah. This is, we do this, I'm trying to look at, no, this is in effect till 2029, so it's a 3-year contract. Yeah, 3-year contract, for maximum that's the integration between those 3 offices for services, so entertain a motion for this agreement.
So move.
Second.
All right, motion carries 3-0 on that. Next, we have our appointments. I'll just read through all of them. I suppose if there's one that you would disagree with, then we can circle back, otherwise
Yeah,
we'll
let's
just
just
do a mass vote. So we have two appointments that were up on the Board of Health and would be reappointed, Dr. Erica Hughes and Ben Flora. We have the County Contractual Library Board, Jennifer Prosser. We have the Redevelopment Commission, which is myself and Jay Hawley. That one doesn't have a name. So next we have the Alcohol Beverage Board, which is Leland Moyer. We have the Board of Zoning Appeals, Scott Hessensberger. We have the Frankfort Clinton County Airport Authority Board, which Jeff Little. We have Big Cicero Drainage Board, which would be myself. the National Organization on Disability, Don Albitz. We have PETA BOA, which would be Larry Moser and Dana Myers. And we have Community Corrections, which would be Bert Weaver. We have, moving on, we have our Clinton County Cemetery Commission, Sue Markham. And then we have one, need to note, open appointment on the Fair Council, that we need to look into having an appointment there.
I make the motion, we accept them as presented.
Do I need to abstain from the PETA BOA?
Probably should. So your motion will exclude all
With the
PETA BOA,
exception.
and then we'll come back to that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll second.
All right, motion carries 3-0 for those appointments. And then now we'll entertain a motion for PETA BOA for Dana Myers, which, going back, this, I would just reiterate this every year, you have to have a certain level of credentials. So 2-level credential for this appointment. That narrows the selection pool down to very few. She is one that has that, and obviously was the former assessor as well. So I assume you'll make a motion to appoint her to that.
That is correct.
All right, motion carries 2-0 with Kevin abstaining from that. And we'll circle back to this one that, I think it's a Wildcat, but I know the one on here is no longer the appointment, so, we need to figure out who that appointment is, but it actually, it comes through the town boards, so we can do that one at our next meeting. All right, next we have the Forest Township trustee received a resignation for board member Jerry Milner. This goes to he is a Republican, so it goes to the party. The party decided to not hold a caucus for it. This is similar to what happened in 2022 for this, so now it defaults to the commissioners for an appointment. The trustee has made a recommendation to appoint Allison Williams for the remainder of his term, which is 26. Yeah, it has 1 year left, so it's up to us for that appointment. So I'll entertain a motion to accept the recommendation for that appointment.
So moved.
And second.
All right, motion carries 3-0 on that. Next, we have our bonds. Read through all these. These are for the public official bonds. We have Stephanie Harshbarger, Kylie Mitchell, Edward Kripe, Gina Bretnacher, Richard Kelly, Britt Osler are the bonds that are up for approval. So I'll entertain a motion to approve those bonds.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion carries 3-0 on the bonds. Next item is a letter of intent to purchase land. I'll just pass this on to you, Bert, because you handled it, so you can explain.
Well, it just so happens that the county owns approximately 25 acres, and it's located close to ConAgra, directly behind there, and that property, at this point, should the Northeast Precast Company, which is the Data One Center that we're meeting with in their future, they want to purchase that ground from the county. And so at this point in time, they have simply sent us a intent to purchase, which will allow the county then to order appraisals so that we can determine the value of those properties. Obviously, we can go higher than what the mid of these two appraisals are, but at the same time, it's simply an intent to purchase. It doesn't bind either one of us at this point in time. They're simply putting us on notification that should things happen, they would like to buy it. And then should that happen, we would be in a position to know what in fact we would be able to negotiate with that. So at this point in time, I'd like to have the approval that we have a letter of intent to purchase approved so that should things change, we'll be in a position to know what the values are that we can offer to them. So that's what this letter of intent is.
How many appraisals?
2 is what it's
2.
necessary.
And who's picking the appraisers?
I was going to ask Mr. Little to do so. We've had appraisers in the past, and I think he has a list of those that could qualify.
Is 2 just the minimum? I mean, we could have,
Oh, you could have more than that, yes.
And so if they do not exercise their intent to purchase, we pay for the appraisals and then we're out the cost of the appraisals?
That
at
is
point?
correct.
There's no reimbursement?
That is
from-
correct.
Okay.
Other than we'll know the value of the properties moving forward for a while.
I would say the property is as valuable as the property to the east that is being offered as well. So, I mean, it's
Yeah, that's,
pretty cut and dry from that standpoint, so.
well, regretfully it is, but in order to do, according to the state, we've got to have 2 appraisals
Yeah.
at least to do that.
Okay.
So I offer that for approval.
is that a motion?
I'll make the motion that we, at this point, exercise the intent to purchase.
Okay, I'll second.
I'm no, so 2-1. Next up is the community service grant applications. So these are, we've received 5. Okay.
Yes.
Received 5 applications. Paul Philippi for 15,000, Boys and Girls Club for 10, Sharp Program 10,000, Healthy Communities for 15, and Learning Network for 13,000. So let's, I would say we'll take these under advisement and make our selection at our next meeting on the 20th of January.
Okay.
If that's okay with you, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Okay. Have one more item under new business. For, we have 2 sign placement requests. The first is from the Humane Society for their spaghetti dinner fundraiser, and it would be at the northeast and southeast corners of the courthouse from today until the 1st of March. Entertain a motion for that.
Motion to approve the sign placement.
All right, motion
Second.
carries 3-0 for the first one. The second one is for Clinton County Civic Theater, and it will be, looks like for 7 days, and it will be removed around March 2nd. So we'll call it the last week of February up until the first week of March would be that, and same placement, northeast and southeast corners. Entertain a motion for it.
Second.
You have a
I'll make a
I thought
motion, yeah.
Kevin made it. Yeah.
All right, second.
I
There
was
we go.
waiting for him to make it.
Okay, motion carries 3-0. Department heads. Have any department heads? Renee?
Just real quick, next Wednesday on the 14th at 1 o'clock, we will be having our second meeting with the multi-hazard mitigation plan committee. That is the one that we had a couple months ago, and this will be the final meeting with the Polis Center and all of our stakeholders, and hoping we have a great turnout like we did at our last one. So, and then it will be months that the Polis Center will continue to work on that, and then once the plan is completed, I believe there will need to be a resolution and things that, I'll bring it back before the commissioners, but it'll have to be approved here in the next, few months, once it's completed. So,
What time is that?
1 o'clock next, on Wednesday, the 14th, at the police department. So, and one other quick thing, and I'm just gonna throw this out, I know Britt and I over the years have talked, and something Alan said earlier, I don't know if there's anything, and maybe it's not possible, but, when you become a new department head, and gosh, it's been 16 years for me, but you don't know sometimes what you don't know. And if I tell you, if it wasn't for the auditor's office over the years, here I was a brand new department head, trying to figure all the things out. I don't know if there's something like, whether you're an elected official or a newly appointed department head, is there something maybe that the county could put together, have somebody, I mean, thank goodness we have Cecily now as HR, but you know, there's just a lot of things that we as department heads, you still deal with, and you're not sure, or I'm calling Cecily, and, you know, like I said, I'm thankful for them, or the auditor's office, or whether it's you guys or the council, but just throwing that thought out there, that maybe it might be something for the county to look at doing once a year with department heads and elected officials of, you know, different topics, whether it's dealing with personnel, you know, all kinds of things that could be a topic, so. I
Like
just wanted-
like a professional development?
Yes, yes, so I just wanted to throw that out. I don't know if that's even possible. I've talked to, I mean, Stephen.
I second that.
Anything's possible.
I didn't know what an additional appropriation was.
So, but I mean, over the years, you know, Stephen and I have talked, most recently Matthew with probation, you know, he and I have talked. I mean, there's just so much that when you come in as a department head, there's so many things to learn. Everything's always changing, so I'm just throwing that out there.
You don't like baptism by fire?
Yeah, right. So I just wanted to, you know, just bring that up and.
Melissa Osler just texted me, she wants to do that.
So I just wanted to, that's my, just a suggestion maybe.
Okay.
Or if it's something possible.
I think
Good idea.
anything's
Yeah.
possible.
Good idea.
Thank you.
It
All
is.
right, thank you.
I guess I'll just go.
That might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Each commissioner is assigned a department.
Correct.
They are kind of meeting, so I just think if the department head would meet with whoever that council, or commissioner is, and then also meet with a council member, and just go out to lunch, sit down, and they can talk through things from your role, so that we would have a better idea of what your expectations are of us. Same with the council. Spend a day with the auditor's office, spend a day with Seth, so we can see behind that curtain and kind of have a better idea of how the county government functions as a whole. Because it's, you know, been a minute since we've all taken, you know, third grade government class or whatever, so I just say that it's a great idea.
You can take all the government classes you want, but, you know, like you said, baptism by fire, no matter what, you're gonna experience that.
Yeah, yeah. All right, for me, I just want to give you guys a revenue update for how we closed out 2025. So we ended at 1.759 million in revenue for ambulance transport. This was higher than my estimate in November, which I was excited to see. And this is up from when I started in May of 2022, the year prior. Our revenue, net transport collection was 1.142 million. So we increased about $600,000. And so I think we've done very well in terms of increasing revenue and we're taking some aggressive approaches to make sure we optimize that. So we also just submitted $88,000 for grant reimbursement through IDHS. We continued our streak with our paramedic program. 2025 just graduated and wrapped up, and we were 4 for 4 on graduating passing on the first attempt. So we continue our 100% pass rate on the first attempt, which is absolutely unheard of. So we are continuing to excel there. We're excited for our students as they move forward in their professional career.
So do you have a class now?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, they just started yesterday, it was their first day.
Okay.
We have 14 students.
There you go.
Some are excited, some are nervous. They'll do great, they'll be
Yeah.
good. So, it's by far our largest class, and then that's our full capacity. So we're very excited to fill that up and have all these new faces in. So we have 4 of our own staff members that are taking the class this year.
Okay. Remind me, how many months?
It's a 12-month program.
Okay, 12. I was thinking it was a little longer, but
Our
12.
first year, we did 15
Ah,
months.
yep.
And then what we learned from one of the conferences with COA, they had a physician from the Ohio State University come and present and talk about attrition rates, and the optimal program duration was down to 12 months through a large study, nationwide study. So we went where that.
There isn't any.
Okay.
It's not
Good.
charged.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then I have a favor as we roll into the Indiana General Assembly. I am, not just me, EMS as a whole, loses staff to fire departments. And some of the, you know, the hardships of EMS. Right now, the national average for career expectancy is about 5 years, just because of burnout, stress, PTSD. Right now, they just published a few months ago research that showed that EMS personnel are reporting PTSD rates equivalent to those that were actively deployed overseas in the Middle East and came home after seeing. So, we're seeing unprecedented rates of mental health crises, burnout, stress. The shift work is brutal, and so people last about 5 years and they move on. Career fire departments have much better longevity because of the retirement pension, being able to be a part of the PERF 77 fund and retire out in 20 years. You know, the sheriff's office, they have their own pension. Police, fire, both being in the PERF 77, it's just hard for us to compete with those. I mean, like the national, or the UK did a study and found EMS physicians have a life expectancy of 58 years, and the next closest was anesthesiologists at 76. So like the stress and the toll of emergency medicine is seen on every level from EMTs to physicians. And so what I would just like to ask is, can we have a conversation? Can you guys help me facilitate a conversation with some of our state legislators to be heard at the state level to find alternative pathways for county EMS agencies for an optimal retirement that allows us to retain employees?
Can definitely put you in touch with our representatives, Senator Buchanan and Representative Ginda. And this is not to those two specifically, but if we've seen anything, those at the State House don't care about us at local government. So, I mean, I think that was pretty evident in last session and may continue forward, but the conversation's open to have it. I think that where it gets a little dicey is, you know, citing fire and sheriff department or police officers. You may have to correct me, Cecily. Rule 77, you know, in terms of how time's paid, where EMS, it's beneficial for an employee there because you're on 40, but even though you're scheduled for a 48, and so it's kind of, those two things would have to work in conjunction versus independently for the retirement side of it. But I think we can definitely engage that conversation with those two.
Yeah, okay, thank
So,
you.
yep.
Yeah, the FLSA laws for EMS versus other agencies, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, shoot, in 1977, when they created all this, well, we were still putting people in the back of a hearse. So times are a lot different.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Do you guys have anything for me?
Yep.
There is a legislative breakfast being held on the morning of January 17th at Weston Manor at 8 o'clock, and typically.
Both of those gentlemen should be there. Yeah.
It's just an opportunity they ask if they're there to answer questions. That would be another opportunity for you to present what you just told us.
Okay, sounds great. I'll do it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Tim, before we go any further, there is no microphone at the podium.
Battery had died.
Okay, well, there's none there, so, yeah.
Okay, we have any other department heads?
I got something to say.
Go ahead. Is it about the microphone?
Yeah, got a battery?
Good morning.
Morning.
Sean Mayfield, Chief Deputy. Hey, the sheriff is asking if he's able to post open a position as a record clerk and courthouse security full-time.
Okay, it's a good question. I haven't thought about it for a minute, so I guess we can bring it up at the next meeting.
I
See.
can
Let
say
us
that.
think about it here and
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Okay, I'll move on to commissioner reports. Commissioner Weaver?
I have none to report.
Me neither.
Okay, I have one, just so we bring it up on an annual basis, or well, biannual, I guess. For 26, if you remember, we renegotiated the contract with Republic Services for the landfill. So this is the first year since 2017 that we will receive more in tipping fees. So we had been at $2, it now jumps to $2.05. So every 2 years, it adjusts by the CPI inflation index number, and so that came out to $2.05 for '26. So we'll now see a little bit of increase over time for that to grow. So that is my one report this morning. We'll move on to our board business. First item is claims. We have claims from December 19th in the amount of $6,946.08. December 31st in the amount of $14,199.92. A biweekly from January 6th in the amount of $154,810.77, and a highway from January 6th in the amount of $12,500. Have a motion?
Motion to pay claims.
Second.
All right, motion carries 3-0 on the claims. We do not have any payroll. We took care of that at our cleanup meeting last week. We have minutes from December 16th as well as December 30th. Motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
Second.
Motion carries 3-0 on that. Our next meeting, as I mentioned earlier, will be January 20th, right here. And we will have batteries in the microphone, hopefully, for those at the podium. So with that, any other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All right, thank you.